Y'all, this is gonna be a good one. From the field to your feed, what is up, Touchdown Tribe? It's your girl, Coach Chelsea, and we're gonna be getting into the shocking hiring of Mike McCarthy as the new head coach of the Steelers. But first, y'all already know to check out CDT Beats if you are enjoying this background music. CDT Beats' music has been featured on some big channels like the Do Better podcast with Theo Coop, Smell the Roses, among many other channels. So if you're a content creator in need of some background music, or if you're just wanting a chill space to be at to listen to some background noise, check out CDT Beats on YouTube. I'm telling y'all, there is nothing like the Do Better podcast with Theo Coop when he closes it out with this outro.
Do Better Squad, fall out, CDT Beats, take us home, cousin.
So shout out to Project Leroy for dropping this in the Discord. Y'all be on it in my Discord, I'm telling you. Like, y'all were letting me know your thoughts on this as well. So shout out to y'all who are in my Discord, because y'all had it popping off in there. Box Stuffer Supreme, aka Mailbox Sports, over on YouTube, y'all go check them out, had this to say in my Discord: Aaron won't be re-signed, and I think this is a horrible hire. And I have to agree 100% with this. Ooh, y'all, Danny Omega had one of my favorite topics in the Discord. He said why he was barely okay in Green Bay. This has been one of my favorite subjects to discuss on Mike McCarthy. Let's run the dang ball, Bert.
Enough with the trick plays, Bert. Run the dang ball. You run the dang ball. Run it.
Y'all, when I first seen this news, I thought it was a joke. I did not think this was serious. But no, it's serious. They really did hire Mike McCarthy.
Alright, explain this to me like I'm a 2-year-old, okay? Because there's an element to this thing I just cannot get through my big head.
This was prior on First Take with Stephen A. and all them possibly discussing the hiring of Mike McCarthy to the Steelers. Here's what Stephen A. had to say on this.
Fit in Pittsburgh.
No.
Y'all, it's as simple as that. No, he is not a great hire for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let's get into some of the juicy reasons of why not. So this clip of Stephen A. was from when the news broke that Mike McCarthy had been hired as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I will not forget what Stephen A. had to say on this subject. And this goes back to what Danny Omega brought up in my Discord about how he performed at Green Bay as head coach.
One is, how'd you leave? As Janet Jackson would say, what have you done for me lately? Or in my case, I'm saying, what did you do the last time?
So we're going to get into how he performed as head coach at Green Bay, because this was juicy.
And I'm saying, you were an offensive coordinator before you became the head coach. Everything about you is associated with offense. And the reason why you got fired was because of your offense. Think about that for a second here.
So Stephen A. brought up a great point, because that was why he got fired from Green Bay. He wanted control over not only head coaching, but he wanted to take on being an offensive coordinator too, and it got him in a lot of trouble with his career.
True leaders know how to delegate and allocate responsibility to other folks. That's what leadership is, because nobody can do everything themselves. Mike McCarthy, there were two pivots.
And that's something that Mike McCarthy struggled with. He struggled with wanting control over being an offensive coordinator and a head coach. And it's extremely difficult to do that in the NFL, much less college. For example, Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, he tried to take over offensive coordinator and head coaching, and that did not play out for him well in college. And it's even more difficult to try to take on that task in the NFL. And Mike McCarthy, we see how that played out for you.
pivotal plays that Clay Matthews wasn't even on the field, and Mike McCarthy barely noticed.
Yep.
Why? Because you were preoccupied, calling offensive plays and doing your job on that one. Well,
and this is the struggle with him taking on offensive coordinator and head coaching. He did this not only at Green Bay, but then he tried to do it at Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to get into that part of it as well.
I'm sorry, the title is head coach, not offensive coach, not offensive coordinator. You have a responsibility because you can't just rely on your offense to win football games.
And this is something that gets talked about often, is when Aaron Rodgers was at Green Bay under Mike McCarthy's head coaching, offensive coordinating, Mike McCarthy really didn't have a lot to do with the success they had. It was mainly talked about that it was all Aaron Rodgers in the offense. And here is Stephen A. talking about this.
Aaron Rodgers was carrying you on your back. He didn't get much credit for what they did offensively because we saw on too many occasions Aaron Rodgers coming to the rescue.
There it is. Aaron Rodgers coming to the rescue. Nothing to do with Mike McCarthy, and there's numerous reports on this. This next clip with Rex Ryan goes back to when Mike McCarthy was hired at the Dallas Cowboys as head coach, and Rex Ryan gets into details about what happens with all the head coaches who no longer have their quarterback, and he also discusses how Mike McCarthy handled analytics, and I have a Aaron Rodgers clip to go along with what he said.
But when I look at this right here, he's got to keep Kellen Moore and all that.
Y'all, we're going to get into that because remember what Rex Ryan said. He's got to keep Kellen Moore. Remember that part.
Why? He's got the #1 offense in the league. They've done a great job there. He's going to bring in somebody else to run the defense, all right? And that'll be fine. It'll probably be Dom Capers or somebody else. Who cares? But when I look at that, this is like this hire was, on paper, looks good. But I don't think it's not the future that you talked about. And it's not a sexy hire by any stretch to me because you didn't win. You were like the rest of us when you never had Aaron Rodgers. Guess what happened to you? Won, 4 games, 3 games? That's what it showed me. So how great a coach are they getting? I don't know, but they're getting a guy. The analytics thing I thought was garbage when he came out and said, I'm going to embrace all this kind of stuff. You're going to embrace it. You better have an offensive line and a running game, which you do.
Y'all, when I tell you I did not want Mike McCarthy hired as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, I was on my Snapchat ranting and raving. Because this was how upset it had me. Going based off what I knew about Mike McCarthy and his career at Green Bay, I did not want him hired as the Dallas Cowboys head coach because I knew it'd be the biggest waste of time.
Say, hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Which it was. And Rex Ryan talking about how Mike McCarthy was just like all the rest of the coaches and what happens with their situation when they don't have their QBs. That was Mike McCarthy. And going off of what he said with the analytics thing, we're about to watch the clip with Aaron Rodgers.
I know a coach that said stats are for effing losers. I'm not sure I agreed with that because I think stats can tell an interesting story.
Which one?
It's no secret. Aaron Rodgers is talking about Mike McCarthy here. Aaron Rodgers said he once had a coach who said stats are for effing losers. You go back to what Rex Ryan said, how he thought when Mike McCarthy said that he was going to embrace analytics now that he was taking on the head coaching job with the Dallas Cowboys, he thought that was a little crap. It's the same person. We're talking about Mike McCarthy here. What's interesting is going to be if Aaron Rodgers ends up retiring or if he ends up going back with the Steelers, where now Mike McCarthy is the head coach, the one coach he could not stand. I've heard talks that Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy have reconciled.
But I be feeling like everybody lying. Nigga, you lying. You ain't do that.
But I don't know if I'm buying that because Aaron Rodgers still talks about Mike McCarthy in this way.
I'm going to say this one more time about Mike McCarthy. Please drop the Mike McCarthy. Please quit talking Mike McCarthy.
He can't help himself, Skip.
He can't help himself because he constantly has to tell you how smart he is, or at least was in Green Bay. And I believe he's a fraudulent head coach who is nothing but a product of Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers.
And this goes back to what many of the others said, that Mike McCarthy was only a product of having great QBs like Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And this is what you heard Rex Ryan talk about as well.
We got a coach who's been there and done that. Unfortunately, it was 12 years ago.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was mostly because of Aaron Rodgers, not because of Mike McCarthy.
Skip Bayless really thought at the time that Mike McCarthy was going to be a great hire. And then we all seen how that played out. And it really started to unfold whenever he pushed Keelan Moore out the door, which we're about to get into with this. But it obviously did not work out with Mike McCarthy being head coach and offensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys. And this is just another confirmation of it being all Aaron Rodgers and nothing to do with Mike McCarthy.
You wanted it, be careful what you wish for, you got it. You are on the hottest seat in the NFL next year because you, my friend, are calling the play. So it's on you.
Jerry said he ain't on no hot seat.
Yeah, well, no, he's on my hot seat. He's on the fans' hot
okay,
seat.
Skip Jones, what you gonna do?
Man, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. But anyways, back on subject. This was when Keelan Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys at the time, was pushed out by Mike McCarthy because Mike McCarthy thought he could do it all again. He thought he could be head coach and be an offensive coordinator too. And my theory is he wanted to use the Dallas Cowboys as his little redemption for what happened to him with Green Bay. He thought he could redeem himself using the Dallas Cowboys. Since the offensive coordinating and head coaching didn't go out well for him with Green Bay, he was going to try that with the Dallas Cowboys, and it did not work because that ended up being his last season with the Dallas Cowboys.
But I am interested to see what it looks like with Mike McCarthy calling plays. Also because the last time he was calling plays, they weren't doing so well. He went 11-16-1 in his last two seasons in Green Bay. He was fired after week 13 in 2018. So the last time we saw him in this role, it wasn't so hot. Now, maybe it will be different this time around. I think it kind of has to be.
So we can confirm it was definitely not different that time around when he took over not only head coaching but doing offensive coordinating as well. So we can confirm that did not work out for him in the end. He should have kept Keelan Moore, like Rex Ryan said, to begin with. So I really like what Acho is going to say in this next clip here. Like, he hits it spot on. This was when Mike McCarthy was at the end of his career with the Dallas Cowboys, and this is bold.
He's got to go. He's got to go, family. And the reason he's got to go is you can't have that much of a positional and talent advantage and lose. You just can't. You're telling me you got 9 Pro Bowlers to their 1, and their 1 is a special teams player? You're telling me your quarterback is an 8-year starter to their 1, and their quarterback is a quarterback who didn't even get his 5th-year extension picked up? Instead, the team had to figure out how to find a happy medium because they didn't really want to pick up his 5th-year option, but they also didn't really want to let him go. You're telling me you lost at home when you won 15 consecutive home games, and you lost to the same team that fired you? Mike McCarthy got to go. He's got to go. I heard in the booth, Greg Olsen, he does a phenomenal job. And he said, well, other teams would hire Mike McCarthy, so that should tell you the Cowboys should keep him. I said, nah, you don't stay with your ex just because somebody else will date him. That logic don't track. Of course somebody else will date him. Don't mean they right for you. The Cowboys didn't hire Mike McCarthy to win 12 games. They didn't hire Mike McCarthy to win 12 games back-to-back years. They didn't hire Mike McCarthy to win 12 games back-to-back years. They hired Mike McCarthy to take them further than they have been. And thus far, he hasn't done it. 4 years he's been there. He's lost in the playoffs twice. He's won in the playoffs once. That's bad math, family, and I'm not great at math. Algebra 2 is what I graduated with. It didn't go that far. I didn't do no pre-cal. But I know this is terrible math, James Jones. So say what you will. I know you got to protect the guilty. I know you got to protect the man that brought you a Super Bowl. But I don't know how you can protect the performance last night. Mike McCarthy's got.
So I have this clip of Aaron Rodgers, and you can clearly see him mouthing the words, "stupid effing call." And this was when Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy were together at Green Bay. So there's plenty of proof that Aaron Rodgers clearly had an issue with Mike McCarthy's play calling, which is understandable. He has a track record of it going horribly wrong for him when he takes over head coaching and offensive coordinating. We've seen how this worked out for him with Green Bay. We've seen how this worked out for him with the Dallas Cowboys. Will we see this repeat with the Steelers? I think the Steelers need to make sure Mike McCarthy keeps an offensive coordinator and does not try to be head coach and offensive coordinator. That does not work well for him. I get that Mike McCarthy is from Pittsburgh, has connections with Pittsburgh, but I thought this was a joke when they were reporting that Mike McCarthy was hired as the new Steelers head coach. I even put it in my Discord that I thought it was a joke. I did not take it serious whatsoever, but it's very much real that they went from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy.
How? Hold on, bro. How? How you? I'm saying, how? Like, talk to me, bro.
I just don't see how this is going to help anything with what the Steelers have going on, especially on offense, with that being shaky. If Aaron Rodgers ends up staying, what a plot twist that will be, knowing the history with Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. Interested to see how that plays out, but if I'm Steelers fans, I'm not happy about this hire whatsoever. To go from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy, knowing Mike McCarthy's history with Green Bay and with the Dallas Cowboys, like, he absolutely cannot be head coach and offensive coordinator and succeed. Unless he's trying to prove people wrong again about that. I don't know. But we will see what happens with that. If I was a Steelers fan, you know what I would do? I would go outside Mike Tomlin's house with a boombox singing, "Baby, come back. We can blame it all on me." Or whatever them lyrics are. Because let me tell you, it's all y'all Steelers fans' fault. Y'all wanted him out. He said he wore out his welcome. You were ready for a new coach. It was time for a new era. Now look at y'all. Stuck with Mike McCarthy.
We fucked up.
But that's going to be it for this video. Touchdown Tribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Something's telling me this ain't over yet.